My name is Mike Henschel, and I work for Smeltzer Orchard Company for 33 years, 30 of those as a plant manager. I've been retired for 9 years. The Orchard Company was originally put together and built for processing the family's fruit. And in the decades since then, we've taken fruit from everything from southern Michigan, the far south part of Michigan, up through Antrim County. We became a major player in the fruit industry in Michigan. We take fruit from people we've taken fruit from for decades. It's all based on just word of mouth, and there's no contracts, just a handshake. In the beginning, cherries were all harvested by hand, and they were picked into lugs. And when they were picked, as a picker, you couldn't leave stems on. The stems had to come off from the cherries. You put them in the lugs, and the lugs were then delivered to the processing plants. And as people started getting more substantial acreage and looking at becoming more efficient, people went into mechanical harvesting. And the first ones were the limb shakers, and then they got into the trunk shakers that we have today. And you just had to have massive amounts of people in the plant to get the stems off. And it was just the big thing, you have to get the stems off. That's when Russell and Vernon decided they were going to try doing something about it. And they were the ones that invented the first really working cherry destemmer. And that was a concept that Jack Smeltzer, Russell Smeltzer, developed using a weed whip on the sidewalk in front of his house. He puts cherries out on the sidewalk, and this is my wife's dad who did this. He put cherries out there, and it was using a grass whip. And he'd go like this, and it would cut the stems off. And somehow he just came upon a thing where if it was a dull blade, to pull the stems out. So then, okay, now we have the idea of how to get the stem off. How do we do this? And this is not just a simple thing of Jack and Bud either. I believe I've seen some literature that says that Lloyd, their brother, and once again, all these guys are very, very mechanically inclined. Lloyd said, how about an oscillating belt? And so that's where the concept came up. And it was absolutely revolutionary. When they were looking for parts, I think that Louis Julikowski, our local scrapyard place, I think that I was told that the struts for the destemmer were off from Ford Falcon. I mean, these guys went around and found parts to do what needed to be done. You know, you had to have something there to make that belt oscillate, but they just scavenged parts from whatever they could. I think probably there was nothing new that went in the first one that they made. It was probably just all what they could scavenge around the farm and here, there, and wherever. I do believe that destemmer #1 was put in the Smeltzer Orchard Company. It didn't take very many years for this to become widely used. They sent destemmers all over the world. I mean, this was revolutionary for the cherry industry. I'm sure that other people maybe tried copying or come up with different ideas, but for tart cherries, that same concept of the oscillating belt and the dull blade is the same thing they use today with tart cherries. There was really quite a demand very shortly after they devised this, and they would hire some of the other local growers in the wintertime to put together these stemmers. It was a matter of, you know, hey guys, you know, Ken Putney, Dwayne Evans, Jim Evans, these guys are in the neighborhood, and well, can we help you out? And you know, and then they would, you know, go and work for them. I'm sure I left some names out, but everybody just helped each other. And the common goal was, you know, they didn't want to see anybody fail. They didn't want to see anybody starve. Being as remote as we were, and certainly back then, there was no government assistance like there is today. You either made it or you didn't. And without help of all your neighbors, I think it would have been a very tough task. Innovation means to me something different, something that's going to solve a problem that exists using a different pathway. Just thinking really, as we say today, outside the box. I mean, Russell putting cherries on the sidewalk and using a grass whip. I think that's thinking outside the box, and from that comes a cherry destemmer. That's really what innovation means to me, solving a problem and making life better. Jack and Bud, neither one of them ever went to college, but both of them had a thirst for knowledge. If you have a thirst for knowledge, there's so many avenues today that were not available back for those guys. But I do think that a good education is a foundation for being exposed to what's going on in the world, being exposed to needs, and try finding the path that you like.